Desire for enlightenment in Buddhism is understood as a different kind of desire than what is desire which leads to suffering. So there are three kinds of desire which lead to suffering, and one kind of desire which leads out of suffering. So the three kinds of desire which lead to suffering are desire for sensual pleasures. That means desire for sensual pleasures, for pleasure in the eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and mind. The second desire is the desire for existence, the idea that I will be like this, I will be like that, I will be a god, I will be a human, I will be an animal. And the third one is the desire for non-existence. I will not be, I will not exist, I will destroy me, I will destroy this state of existence or another state of existence. So there are these three kinds of desire which lead to suffering. Why they lead to suffering? Because whatever you get through those desires will be impermanent. Sometimes you will succeed, but that will gradually fade away. At least you will lose it when you pass away, when you die. So whatever we gain through the desire for sensual pleasures, existence and non-existence, that will lead to impermanent pleasure, sometimes even to loss of that what we already have, and it will end up with death and another birth, old age, sickness and death, because the desire for existence, the desire for non-existence, and of course the desire for sensual pleasures actually create a new life. Even the desire for non-existence creates new life, but it would be usually in hell because it's based on a wrong view. And when there is a wrong view, the person at the moment of death, they are attached to something that's not in accordance with the reality. So the idea that there is no more life, that there is nothing after death, if you attach to it strongly, so that's an important condition for this, if you have strong attachment that there is nothing after death, then whatever would come would actually shock you. It would be a shock because you don't want it, you didn't expect it, you don't want anything, you don't want anything, you don't want anything anymore. And therefore automatically it drags you down to hell because it's suffering. It will automatically create suffering because this is because you are going against the reality, and the shock has the effect of suffering, of the birth in hell. And the birth in hell, that's not like in Christianity that it's for eternity, but it's for as long as you have that attachment to the view. So the stronger attachment you have to the view that there is no life after death, the longer you will be in hell. The smaller attachment you have for the idea that there is no life, then of course the less time you will spend in the hell. So if there is not much attachment, there will not be that much of suffering, especially if it is attachment for something that's opposite to what things are like. If you touch the electric stove, you know, with the idea that this will be really hot, then you will immediately remove your finger because you know, hey, this is going to be hot, so I'm going to touch it only as much as is really necessary, and then I will keep away. But for somebody who is really attached to that, you know, blazing stove, they think this is so beautiful, it's so beautiful, red and shining, I need to have it, I need to take it with me. If they are really attached to that, if they are really entirely, thoroughly convinced that this is going to cause them happiness, that this is right, then it will take some time for them to accept that this is causing them suffering and to release. And before that, they will suffer immensely. So in the same way, the idea that there is no life is against the reality, so the person then is born in hell because that's against reality, and then they will be there until they will be attached to the idea that there is no life. So it's not very recommendable to believe that there is no life. It will not help you in any way. And now the thing is that these three kinds of desire bring suffering, but the desire for enlightenment, because it is the desire to get free from these three kinds of desires, is leading you out of them, and therefore out of suffering. So you can think of it as a kind of jujitsu. You know, you are using the stunts of suffering against suffering. You know, you are taking this birth, old age, sickness and death, you are taking this body and mind, and you are making use of them to get free from them. So the Buddha has taught like this three things that lead to creation of a new body and mind, and that can be used to get free from a new body and mind. So they are food, craving, and conceit. So you can use food to create new body, you know, so that when the child is born, of course, even already in the womb, it needs to eat and eat and eat, so that it can grow and the body can appear completely. And then when they pass away, they need to eat again in the next life in order to grow and make a new body. But you can use the food to get free from making a new body by considering the nature of food. So you consider the fact that this food, when it enters the mouth, it is filthy, it is not beautiful, it is not worthy of attachment. And when you see that food is not worthy of attachment, then you release, you stop, you cut off the attachment for food, and thus you stop the attachment for this body. So of course you continue to eat to keep this body healthy and working, but you do not keep greedy for food, you do not keep attached to food, you do not become choosy for certain kinds of food and not for some others. And as you are detached from food, you can see how this body is dependent on food, how this body grows and how it becomes sick and how it becomes old and so on, always in dependence on food. And then as you see that it's all in dependence on food, then you can detach from it, and therefore with craving, with no craving, there is no more arising of a new body. For craving, we can use craving for sensual pleasures, for existence, for non-existence, to create a new body. That's the very condition to get a new body, to get new birth, old age, sickness and death. But there is this craving for enlightenment, and you can use craving for enlightenment. You can use craving for enlightenment to get free from another body. So you sit down, you observe the body, you observe the mind, you see that they are impermanent, unsatisfactory, not self. That way you lose any kind of craving, and that way there is no more birth, old age, sickness and death. Finally, conceit. Conceit is used through reference. So somebody tells you that another person is enlightened, that they are free from all defilements, and you think about yourself. So that person is free from that person is freed from all suffering, that person is freed from all greed, hatred, ignorance. What about me? If that person is enlightened, then I also have to be. You know? If that person could become enlightened, then what about me? Then I, of course, can also become enlightened. Right? So, through that conceit, you sit down, observe the body, observe the mind, and gradually get free from all craving and from the conceit as well, and thus get freed from all new bodies, from new birth, old age, sickness and death. So this way, the craving for enlightenment actually leads you out of suffering, unlike the craving for sensual pleasures, existence and non-existence, which leads you towards suffering. If the observation of the body and mind is thorough, if it is complete, then the conceit will gradually decrease through your results of your observation. So you theoretically you can keep as conceited as you want, because this will reduce as a side effect of your observing the body and mind. So of course we train ourselves in humbleness. We do not do acts, we do not say words which would be overly conceited, but we are clearly aware that conceit cannot be subdued directly. Many people do that. They try to subdue conceit directly, and then they come to the conclusion that they don't have any conceit, and that's the worst thing that can ever happen. Because then they just don't see any reason why they would do anything. And that's where their progress stops, because they think that they have no more conceit, so why would they try for anything? Why would they, they are not able to see any drawback, anything that they could improve about themselves, because they think that they don't have any more conceit. It's like the ultimate conceit, when you think that you have no conceit, although you have it. So it's better not to work with conceit directly, too much forcefully, because then you will just delude yourself, and that could be bad for your path. Be open. Okay, I'm conceited. Accept it as it is. Alright, hey, I'm conceited, I accept it, and now there's this path, there's this training, I'll see if I can do something with that. But do not try to pretend that you don't have any conceit, or do not try to delude yourself that you don't have any conceit. So there are monks like that who decided that they will show everybody that they have no conceit. So instead of calling themselves as I, they call themselves in the third person. So instead of saying, I'm going outside, or I would like to tell you something, they will say the monk is going outside, or the monk is going to tell you something. And it just doesn't work. In the Burmese language, they, in the polite manner, they always speak in this third person. And it is utterly useless. For eradicating of conceit, it is utterly useless. It's just a different way of saying I. So we do not remove this idea of I, of me, in the conventional sense when we talk to each other, but we go deeper and deeper to the reality of the things as they are, and see if there is something beyond this obvious I or me.